Plenty of research available that shows that confessions obtained through torture are not reliable. And there is often a misconception, a misunderstanding that only those people are going to confess under torture situations who are actually guilty. Well, the psychology behind it shows otherwise, and different researchers have tried to explore this phenomena. And what they have found is that there's plenty of evidence which shows that people make choices which are believed to maximize their well-being in the constraints, given the constraints that they face. So, for example, if they are faced with a situation where there are certain consequences that they are anticipating, they will probably end up making a decision to comply and to agree to whatever is being said to them so that they are able to get out of the particular situation that they are facing. So, similarly, another aspect that is often highlighted is the fact that one, A is the pressure, the second is the compliance. So the situation that is created when somebody is physically or mentally tortured is that people are kept in isolation, they are threatened, they are given false promises, they are different types of tactics are used, they are uncertain of what may happen to their lives, that there are more chances that they will comply, and then there are more chances that they will agree to confess to a crime that they have not committed. And one thing that one needs to also understand, that for people, if the pressure is a lot, and then this particular paradigm which finds that people admit to wrongdoings in response to anticipated consequences that are probable and that are proximal, then one needs to also look at how people who are especially adolescents who are impulsive, or individuals who have some kind of cognitive disability and are unable to comprehend in its entirety what may be the implications of what they are confessing to, or individuals with anxiety, they may also be a vulnerable population. And one also knows that people who come in contact with the law may also be people who are experiencing some forms of vulnerabilities. So their chances of confessing to something that they have not committed when they are put in situations that are categorized as torture can be very problematic. For people who experience or undergo violence and torture in general, and especially when they are in a confined situation such as the police custody, they may experience a number of effects and symptoms. If the torture was of a physical nature, then they may experience physical difficulties, there may be disabilities, there may be neurocognitive problems, cardiovascular problems, aches and pains, sexual difficulties if there has been some form of sexual torture involved as well. I also want to point out that the mental health, the psychological effects could include again a variety of effects such as difficulty in concentration, memory problems, sleep-related difficulties, anxiety, depression, and something that we call a post-traumatic stress disorder, where there may be flashbacks, there may be intrusive thoughts, there may be hyperarousal to certain stimuli, avoidance of certain stimuli, and people may experience an inability to function like they could normally do. I also want to highlight that torture is not just of physical nature. It can be of an emotional nature, manipulation, coercion, and all other forms of torture. Research has shown can have more debilitating mental health effect compared to physical torture, or in fact, if not equally problematic, then in some cases even more problematic. So all forms of torture need to be recognized, and the fact that they leave lasting impact needs to also be acknowledged. When it comes to how long and what kind of experiences people can have, or for how long the symptoms of trauma or mental health difficulties could continue, well, it is very difficult to say because individual experiences are going to vary. One does not know what was the nature or severity of the torture that was experienced by these individuals, what happened at the end. And what I would really want to say is that a lot of debate has started, especially in the West, where there is the talk of the need to see mental health as a social justice issue, and that we cannot, unless and until systems, policies, and structures are not built in a way that can protect individuals, no amount of therapy can help people unless and until side by side there is work on improving systems and the justice system, especially. When it generally comes to trauma, in our diagnostic and statistical manual, if the symptoms of trauma set of symptoms continue for more than a month, then we know that these people may be experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. These symptoms include thoughts that continue coming in their minds, which are intrusive in nature, constantly, for example, having flashbacks, avoiding reminders of the incident, having extreme hyperarousal conditions, feeling low, depressed, and basically largely an inability to function. Now, not all torture survivors may experience post-traumatic stress disorder. They may continue to experience challenges with their sleep, generally with their anxiety, difficulty in trusting people, experiencing paranoia, relationship difficulties. So all these sorts of issues may exist.